Welcome back to Cooking with Nob. Today's recipe is ova fakta, or stuffed eggs. This is basically a medieval variation on deviled eggs, which are popular today still. This comes from De honesta voluptate et voluditane, On Honorable Pleasure and Health by Bartolomeus Platina. A link to the original text in Latin will be in the description below, as well as a modern translation of the recipe with the measurements we used. We have a nice variety of ingredients for the recipe, and we do need to break it down into a few steps. Our main ingredient is eggs. Could you have guessed? We also have raisins and good cheese. There are also a variety of herbs and spices. Platina specifies parsley, marjoram, and mint. He mentions spices, and again, it is up to the cook's discretion what spices to use. Based on the sauce in the recipe, we chose some nutmeg and allspice. Since this goes into an egg filling, we used powdered versions of these spices, not whole. For the sauce to accompany the eggs, we need ginger, cloves, and cinnamon. Since the sauce heats in a pan, we chose to use the ginger finely chopped and the cloves and cinnamons whole, not ground. The recipe also requires verjus and must. Set aside some oil for frying the eggs. Since this is basically an Italian recipe, we went with olive oil. Like most of the recipes in Platina's work, this is a relatively simple recipe. Maybe not everyone will agree with me, but it is a little finicky. And it does take some effort. But the steps in and of themselves are not particularly complex. There's just a number of ingredients that have to be prepared. Platina tells us to make fresh eggs hard by cooking for a long time, so hard boil them. Use any method you prefer, regardless whether you cook them in a pot or in an egg cooker. The end result is the same. Now, of all the things that I am capable of baking and cooking, I am notoriously bad at hard boiling eggs, at least in a pot with water, so I did cheat and use an egg cooker. Regardless, after they are hard boiled, they do need to be peeled. Personally, I cannot think of any recipes in which we need to use the shells, so let's toss those aside. After the shells are removed, we are supposed to cut the eggs through the middle so that the white is not damaged. There was a little difficulty to understand this initially, as any way we cut into the egg, we need to cut through the egg white. Then it made sense. Platina probably means cut them in half as if we were making deviled eggs. As for not damaging the whites, he probably means do not chop them up, but keep them intact, again like deviled eggs. Also, I would say make sure that you cut them lengthwise, not across the width. Otherwise, you may have some eggs which, based on how the egg yolks set while boiling, you'll have a very thin white layer at the top, and the egg white will fall apart. Go ahead and cut these all in half lengthwise as neatly as possible. Ooh, there's some egg yolk. And actually this will end up going into the mortar and pestle, so I can actually just start putting that in there. So the next step is we do have to remove the egg yolks, and it makes sense to put them directly into the mortar. We have nice clean egg whites and very dirty fingers. Now I'm going to do a little bit of bragging here. You can see this wonderful knife that I am working with. Beautiful craftsmanship. Franciscus made it. He took an old knife that had snapped, and then he cut down the blade, and he sharpened and he polished this beautiful new blade. He even made a brand new handle out of wood, and it is just magnificent workmanship, and I'm very happy. This is one of my favorite knives in the house. I'm very proud of you. Pound part of the egg yolks with raisin and good cheese. Good cheese is subjective, especially since we love most cheeses here at Nob, even bad ones like Morbier with ash in the middle, and the most stereotyped cheese in America, Limburger. Guess what? It's not as stinky as the cartoons make out. It's actually delightfully tasty. Still, what would constitute a good cheese, according to Platina? Well, we suspect he meant cheese which is not molded, like a modern blue cheese. Some cheeses which were around in medieval Italy and remain today that we know of include Parmesan, Gorgonzola, Mozzarella, Ricotta, Fontina. Platina states some fresh and some aged cheese should be used. The very fact that Platina simply states good cheese implies the exact cheese is again up to the cook. It was easiest for us to get our hands on mozzarella and Parmesan. While the recipe does not state how we need to prepare the cheese, given the nature of what we do with it, we felt it best to grate it first. We've pre-grated the mozzarella. Also, we have to pound everything together, so let's put the raisins in with the egg yolks and actually pound this down a little bit. Again, we're going a little bit old-fashioned with our mortar and pestle. Yeah, that's good. Love that clinking sound. I think we'll go ahead with the mozzarella cheese bowl and start adding the concoction to that. Otherwise we're going to run out of room. Use a spoon. Scoop that out. Ooh, that sticks. We're actually going to dump this into the bigger bowl. One of these days I'll make up my mind which bowl I'm going to use. So, meantime, modern technology, gotta love it. I'm going to go ahead and grate the cheese. We can go ahead for the moment, just grate it into here to keep it contained. We don't need all of this.
Make knob great again.
Now that I've made a complete mess of the table, so we have grated Parmesan cheese, we'll throw that into the other bowl so all of this can be mixed together. Alright. At least my hands will be clean even if the table is an absolute mess. The recipe then calls for finely chopped parsley, marjoram, and mint. Here we may also add the nutmeg and cinnamon, making certain the ingredients are well mixed. Parsley.
Isn't this a lovely knife?
It's a gorgeous knife. And because Franciscus comes from a fine cooking tradition, his knives are incredibly sharp. They cut through everything like butter. Like butter. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I think I hear Stephanos. And the herd of elephants that he's transporting over the Pyrenees with Hannibal. Go ahead and add the parsley. Now we have some marjoram, fresh from the garden. Okay, we will go ahead and add the marjoram to the pile. And then we have some mint for a nice strong flavor. Oh wow, you can really smell the mint as we start cutting through this. Very strong flavor today. Okay, then we'll go ahead and add the mint to our mixture. Now we go ahead and we add our nutmeg and our allspice. And while this isn't exactly the mortar that everything is in, we'll still use the pestle to mix it up a little bit. So we need to make certain that the ingredients are very well mixed. And this actually smells really tasty. As I mix everything together, I can smell the spices, and they're very strong and they're fairly fresh since we do grind our own. And I can smell the mint. The mint almost overpowers the spices, but not so much, and it does blend well, the smell. Ah, this is beginning to look very well mixed. Okay, we can go with this. Next, we're to stuff the egg whites with this mixture and close the eggs. Again, this is like deviled eggs in that we are putting the yolk mixture back into the whites. However, the end result is a little different. What is not stated is how on earth do we close the eggs? This may have been common knowledge to medieval cooks, but it is not a common recipe today. Racking our brains, we decided to go with pieces. Racking our brains, we decided to go with pieces of cotton string. This is 100% cotton. There is no synthetic fiber in this because we are going to be cooking with this around the eggs. So you do not want anything plastic in nature. You can use something with linen, you can use cotton, you could use silk, I suppose. But again, you do not want to use any modern synthetics because you will melt them into your eggs when you fry them. We were uncertain how long of a piece of string to wrap the eggs with. So we're going to go with a nice historical measurement. We're going to go with an L. An L is basically from the tip of someone's finger to their elbows, which in my case is approximately 45 centimeters. So we're going to have 7 finished eggs in total. So we need 7 pieces, 7 L lengths of cotton thread or cotton string. So go about there. Use our brilliantly sharp knife. Oh, look at that. It really just cuts beautifully. And we'll just use this as the basis for cutting the other pieces. And we need 7 again in total. Of course, if you make more, have more string. Let's see. So we're up to 3, 4. I feel like the count. 1, 2, 1, 2, Let's see. What do we have? We have 4, 5. Almost there. It's just, like I said, this recipe, it's basically simple, but it's a little bit fiddly. It's a little bit tedious. We have 7 pieces of string. Alrighty, we can put our cotton string away for the moment. Alright, here is the fun part. So we are going to take our egg halves. Well, we will take 7 of the 14 that we currently have. Whoops. Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to fill them. So we'll take some of our mixture from the bowl. It is a bit dry, don't worry. This will fry up in some oil. We're going to fill the halves. We can put a little bit, it can be a little bit rounded. Right. And now, again, this is very fiddly. We're going to take, ooh, don't cut myself. Take this, we'll put this on the board, we'll try and set the string at about midsection. Almost like wrapping a, yes, case in point. Alright. This is almost like wrapping a present. Going to go around once. And then very lightly, because you do not want to cut through your egg white, we're going to go turn it 90 degrees and then go around it again. And then I'm going to do a square knot, so the old left over right, right over left. And yay, there is our first little egg bundle. Once again, this is a little bit fiddly. If you are having difficulty, there is no shame in asking for help. In fact, anybody's finger will do the trick. Thank you, Franciscus. Now, as for using the cotton string, cotton was actually quite popular at this time for household goods in Italy, and it even made its way into Central Europe. So you're being absolutely historical in using a little bit of cotton to bind your eggs.
Some are even hysterical.
Oh. Alright. And here we have our 7th little egg bundle. It's so cute and adorable. It would make a wonderful little Christmas present or Yule. Now, as our dear friend Henricus constantly complains, or rather teases me about, I made a bit too much filling. But that's okay! It smells wonderful, and you can always go ahead and use this for something else. I mean, I'll probably just cook this up and use it to stuff, I don't know, you could even stuff chicken maybe. That would be interesting. We could try that. Alright. So, before we cook the eggs, we should prepare our ingredients for the sauce first. That way we are not rushing to mix anything while trying to make certain that the eggs do not burn. So take those egg yolks, lovely, and then we're going to mash them up. We can go ahead and, use our pestle again. Just mash them enough until they begin to get crumbly in texture. Since the sauce is heating in a pan, we chose to use the ginger finely chopped and the cloves and cinnamon whole, not ground. Make sure to shave the skin off of the ginger. Oops. And this is a slightly older piece, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Oh yeah, and you can really smell that strong fresh ginger smell. It's delightful. Now, because ginger is actually such a strong flavor, a little bit can go a long way, so you do not need to worry about using a lot. But again, you want to finely chop it so that it distributes the flavor very nicely. Otherwise, you'll just bite into large chunks, which some enjoy. However, for the purposes of this sauce, I really do want to distribute the flavor nicely. We're going to watch our fingers, because again, this knife does cut so very easily. I do not want to lose a finger in the process. We will go ahead and add the ginger to the pot that we're going to cook it in. Go ahead and we'll add the egg yolk. Spoon for this purpose. Now we're going to use some of the cloves. We do not need a lot because, like the ginger, they have a very strong flavor. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a good number. We have a stick of cinnamon. Go ahead and also break that into some smaller pieces. Probably break it into 4 or 6 or 8. Whatever it wants to break. Okay, there we go. So nicely broken into multiple pieces there. Now the recipe, remember, also calls for verjus and must. Again, these are pressed juices, not alcohol. We've mentioned this in a previous episode. Verjus is from pressed unripened grapes. Sour grapes specifically, again, not wine. I'm going to use a little bit of that in there. As we figured the recipe, we called for a tablespoon of verjus and a tablespoon of the cider. If you are exact, that is lovely. If not, that's okay. Just approximately a tablespoon will suffice. So we have In Germany, Naturtrug, which is similar to apple cider that you find in America. It is soft cider, so if you're used to the British cider, which is alcoholic, that's not what you're looking for. So again, another tablespoon. I generally can approximate a tablespoon. I've baked enough over the years. Again, as we mentioned in a previous episode, verjus can be very difficult for some to find in their grocery stores. That's fine. You can generally find it online if that is not an option for you or you prefer to go in person. As an alternative, you're more than welcome to use a little bit of grape juice. It's not going to be exactly the same flavor. It is from sweetened grapes as opposed to verjus being from sour grapes, but it's close enough. You'll still get that hint or tinge of grape flavor, not a problem. So we'll go ahead and we're going to give this a nice little mix. It's not the most beautiful, but when it cooks over the heat later, it will get a little bit smoother and a little prettier, because it is just supposed to be a flavored sauce. Now you notice we mentioned earlier about you were going to use the egg yolks for color, and that was for coloring the sauce, so it has a bit of a yellow tinge to it. All right, let's get cooking with Knob. Now we need to fry the eggs over a slow fire in oil. As mentioned before, we are going to use olive oil because it's a real Italian dish. Devices which can regulate temperatures with the turn of the knob or a push of the button are very new in humanity's cooking history. Even through the 1950s, some cookbooks still did not give temperatures but stated fast or slow ovens as the heat to cook over. Or a slow fire. So what is a slow fire? Well, we figured it means we do not want the food to cook too quickly. We need the temperature hot enough for the oil to fry the eggs, and make sure it is hot enough before adding the eggs, so make sure it warms up a little bit first. I would put most burners at about a medium heat, so we'll go ahead and set that. Medium. We'll do the same with our sauce. Set it to about medium. Let's see, this goes up to 5, so we'll do a good 2.5. Ooh. Oh, we'll do 3. We'll be generous. Going to add some olive oil so it coats the pan very nicely. Actually, that finishes this bottle off. Everything is definitely starting to get warm. That's always good. Okay, so let's see. We have the sauce warming up and it's starting to steam a little bit. That's a very good sign. And the oil, I see very tiny little bubbles in there. So that means it should be warm enough that it can start taking the first bundles. All right, go ahead. Yeah, there's a nice sizzle. Go ahead and add those in. Ooh. Now let's hope that our bundles, slightly askew. Let's hope that our bundles hold. And don't lose too much of the contents. I think we can fit them all at once. This isn't so bad. We have space, just 7 eggs. Oh yeah, and actually this is starting to bubble our sauce, so we're going to turn that down to 1 because we just want it warmed up. We don't want to actually cook the egg too much in there. We just want it to be a nice warm, well-mixed sauce where you get the flavor permeating the egg mixture that's in there with the verjus and the cider. Okay, so I'll turn that very low so it just keeps warm. Take that off for a sec. And as they start to get a little golden at the bottoms, you can go ahead and turn them over. So you get both sides nice and toasted, or fried rather. Oops. Slippery little things, aren't they? Okay, we're actually going to take the sauce off the heat because it's getting a little too warm there. You don't want it to bubble. It's thickened up a little bit. You can see it's thickened up nicely. And now, Platino doesn't actually state if you want the sauce thick or if you want it to be thin. So again, a lot of this is up to interpretation. It was pretty much expected that people had a general idea of what the outcome would be, and so they would work accordingly. Unfortunately, this knowledge has not been passed down to us through the centuries. So I like my sauce a little bit thicker. So we're going to go with a little bit thicker. Tend not to be so much of a fan of broths. This is warming up nicely. We have the problem again. Franciscus over there is drooling, and I think he's getting some of it onto the camera equipment. I'm not quite certain. I'll have to watch my fingers when he comes to take a bite. I think we are about finished. So, once they are fried, whoa, we can go and turn off the heat so we don't get splattered with oil. That would be brilliant. Put this on the cooler burner so it's a little safer. We'll go ahead and take them on out, pop them in the bowl to cool off. Oh, that's brilliant. I've gone ahead and removed the pieces of cinnamon so that we don't bite directly into them. Okay, the topping is still smoking a little bit, but the eggs have stopped smoking. That's a good start. Here is Plautina's dish, ova facta. Not fart, though I'm sure too many eggs may make you do that. Sorry, very immature, I know. We're about to dig in, and I see Franciscus chomping at the bit, and if I don't give him some, he may end up eating me. So we'll have him come over in just a moment. Franciscus, come here. Hi, Franciscus. Okay, remember, do not eat the cotton wrappings. You don't need to eat that. Now, we'll know, folks, if it's poisonous. Just give them a few moments.
Just taking off the cotton.
Yeah.
Not so keen on it.
Just be careful, because remember, the two halves will split apart. Okay. It's still a little warm, it's smoking a little, so be careful. The eyes have rolled in the back of the head. Okay, it's safe, he hasn't killed over, so I get to try. Yay! Okay. Let's see. My turn, I'll peel off a little bit. Whew. Still a little warm. And messy, but well. Alrighty. Let's see. I don't have as big of a mouth as him, so it may take me a few extra bites. I'll tell you in just a second, folks. Hang on. Want a few more bites and then I'll tell you how this is. Okay, I'm trying to think about how to explain the flavor. The thing is, with medieval cooking and recipes, they really did like mixing their flavors. So we might think of deviled eggs nowadays with mayonnaise, a little bit of paprika for some coloring, and then the egg yolks, maybe a little bit of mustard or some pickle juice in there for a real kick. They go even wilder. So we have the raisins in here, which already have a strong sweet, tangy flavor. And then there's definitely a kick from the ginger. We have the herbs, so it has a little bit of aroma, and the nutmeg and the allspice, again, those also give it some aroma. And then the egg sauce with the verjuice and the apple cider, again, it has a little bit more of a juice feel, or juice flavor. So you really do get this mixture of sweet and savory. They really loved mixing sweet and savory back then. And this is delightful. And nice and warm. I mean, we've also had them after they've been cold and sat in the fridge for a bit, and they're still tasty. But warm, I think they're the best, because that's when the raisin, when you bite into it, it's a little bit juicier. And so the flavor definitely spreads a little easier. But this is definitely a winner. It's very, very tasty. I would highly recommend it.
Franciscus approves. They are egg-tastic.
Yeah, isn't he fantastic? It gets the Franciscus seal of approval. Alright, I'm gonna take another bite, and oh, this is good. Now, ova facta. If you have tried this recipe, let us know. Let us know if you've done anything differently, how it came out for you. We would be very interested to know how you found the recipe. Also be sure to check out our other clips. We are dabbling with cooking, in addition to our beloved comedy skits. And if there are any other medieval recipes or any other topics that you would like us to cover, certainly let us know in the comments below. We will read them. As usual, if you'd like to keep tabs on when we have a new video out, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, show us with a like.